So
Okay.
we're unmuted, raw and
Yo,
uncut,
g'day.
and the stream starting soon is gone,
And
and
if
we're
I can
here.
hear myself, so yes, yes, we are.
So,
Hello.
hello. So welcome, Dom, or as
Thank you.
people might know you, Space Dom in the chat,
Spaced on. Yep.
friend of the show, frequent
Mm-hmm.
commenter in our streams.
Mm,
Um, it's Brendon's birthday, so he's off having a nice time. We're here to do the really hard yards of talking about the
for
tough
sure.
job. So you
Mm.
took us up on our always open offer to come in and just make your case, whatever that case is. We're not here to judge, or we are, but whatever that case is on a Pokemon of your choice. And if this first slide is anything to go off, we've got some good stuff in store.
You. Well, specifically good stuff in relation to one of my favorite Pokemon from the original 150. And you could probably guess its name from
Mm-hmm.
that little pun I put in there. And really, there's like there were a lot of ways I could have gone with that one. There's what is it? Midnight in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
There's Paris is burning. Um, Paris je t'aime, but
Lots of
I feel
options
like yeah, lots of options, but yeah, I just it's a genuinely good movie, American Paris. By the way, that's the other thing. So
on my list. I'll
anyway,
add it on there.
yeah, for sure. And I couldn't resist the opportunity to put googly eyes on. What's his name? Gene Kelly. Gene Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, look, you recognize who those googly eyes belong to, and the little snout and the weird insect teeth and the mushrooms on the head. That is, of course, if you would reveal it via the next slide.
It is. Well,
Uh,
I gotta say, before I get to the next slide, I've commandeered your
okay,
slides. So
okay,
before
yep.
I forget, because I always forget, have to do the
Mhm.
intro. Welcome to Pokemon X and I. Done the introduction. Bianca, Dom.
I am.
But I will move on to the next slide, which I have hijacked.
Mhm.
Say happy birthday, Brendon. Click to add subtitle, which is just. I know you. I know Brendon said he was going to watch. I just want to say happy birthday. Enjoying your day. So
You know, typically on a card you add a joke or like a
no.
personalized greeting, but no, click to add subtitle.
click to side. Click to add subtitle is as good as we're gonna get on the show.
Hmm.
We've tried to pull that once.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
No,
so
very good.
I will move on to the next one as your request,
Hmm.
and that is our beautiful little mushroom insect crab, Paris. An A
Hmm.
with two A's actually.
Hmm. Two ways. Yes. Oh man, where to start on Paris? Number 46 in the original 150.
Mm-hmm.
And only appears in first appearance was in Gen 1, red and blue and yellow. He appears at Mount Moon and the Safari Zone. So not like a frequent occurrence in the games.
It's no
And so
Pidgey.
it's no Pidgey. No, that's
Mm.
right. It's a bug grass type, so Pidgeys are its worst enemy, as a couple of other types, as we'll mention in a bit. Um, but so I wondered to myself, like, how is it that I love Paris? Because I remember doing a Word document that was like my two favorite Pokemon, and all the Google image search results for those two Pokemon, and Paris was the top one. Charmander was the other one.
Oh, that's so
Um,
great.
hey, look, I had to have been 10 or something, but and I wondered why is it? How did I learn about Paris? Because he's not exactly exceptional in the games, as you'll find out in a bit. But I think it was two things: the Pokemon Handbook by Maria Esparbo, which beautiful.
I
Thank
have it
you.
on my desk
Yeah,
at all times just in case.
that exact edition as well, because like they had later editions that
They
added
did.
Togepi.
Yeah, they
It's so
did.
and it's so
These were the specific
yeah,
ones. I had this one as well, which I think I've talked about on the show before. But I did something happened to it. I don't have my copy anymore, and this is one that I bought off Amazon, which is pre-owned and has some notes marked in it, so which makes it all the better.
really. Oh,
Yeah.
you got to dedicate an episode to looking at some of those notes. But basically, between that and the anime, which we're also going to talk about later tonight, like I just fell in love with Paris, not from like how it was in the game or in my save file or anything, but just how Paris is. Like, of course, you've got the googly eyes, adorable.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this creepy insect mouth, but it's like, and it is creepy, but it's like diffused by that little snub nose that it's got.
It's got a cute
Yeah,
little
like,
nose, cute little
yeah,
button nose.
a little button nose, and like, I don't think it sniffs really. It like burrows for tree roots and other things, as we'll learn in a bit. But you know, it just takes the edge off in a beautiful way. I
Yeah.
love and I love the freckles in between the eyes. It just gives it a kind of a youthful complexion. I like the little it's on the end of the pincers that act as kind of hands, and in the anime, it kind of expresses itself with those.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, yeah, and I've got it still of that, so we'll see that in a bit. But like, and the round body, the round shapes in the main body, it's just a really appealing Pokemon
Yeah,
and
it
a
is.
uniquely appealing
It's
Pokemon.
very disarming, which for an insect Pokemon
Mm,
is not super common, I think. Because I know when Misty was like, "Ugh, Caterpie," I remember being like, "Yeah, Misty, go off. Insects are gross, and I don't like them." I very
mm,
much was in her camp, but
mm.
I like Paris. Does anyone not like
Yeah,
Paris? He's a cute little crab insect boy
he just
or
wants a
girl.
hug.
We love
Look at him.
him. We love him.
Just give him a hug. Jeez. And I tried to think also, if you look at the next slide, I tried to think of, is there any other Pokemon that have like googly eyes that go for that insect mouth? And the only one I could think of is Omastar, which is the evolution of Omanite. And
Mm,
you can see it's got it's very similar features, but it's just plain creepy. And I
it's
mean,
very,
like
very different vibes being given off by these two.
100%. It's like it's an evolution of a Pokemon, so it's supposed to convey strength uh and whatever. But like, yeah, it just really highlights the contrast and how affectionate Paris is. You know, so I felt like I'd include that.
Yep. Yep.
If you look at the next slide, I want to look at like because Paris has appeared in every gen up to Sun and Moon. So Gen 7, it was sadly a victim of Desert. So these are
R.I.P.
the two. Yeah, these are the two versions of Paris, so normal and shiny. And you may have looked ahead at the slides. I want to know, chat, like, which of these two do you think is the shiny? Yeah, I know. I see James in chat, and like, and I'm just curious, like, which one would strike you, and you would look at that and go, "Oh, that's the shiny version of Paris." The light one, says James. Actually, if you go to the next slide, it's the red
It's
one,
the red
and
one. It's the little
It's strange.
lobstery boy.
I know, and so maybe yeah. Look, the lobster annotate the connection might be it, but like you would think the gold Paris is the thing, but and especially because like the red version of Paris is sort of the canonical version, but like
Yeah.
yeah,
So
but like
has he changed over time, become that sort of kind of washy sort of color?
I
Because
think I think the colorized uh yellow game he is kind of more on the bright side. I think yeah, over time it's just and he keeps appearing in the background of like movies and stuff like that, and he just keeps that red color. I think that's just easier to animate and draw.
yeah,
But if you go to the next slide, like I've compared it with the Sugimori artwork again, and I feel like the Sugimori artwork just sort of splits the
it's
difference.
absolutely splits the difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I really like that. Like the mushrooms have that nice contrast, and yeah, I just think like yeah, you want to aim for sort of the middle ground there. I get why people go red, but ultimately that's like my ideal Paris. That's the Paris I love, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the next slide is just an excerpt from the old trusty
It
handbook.
is. I love the citation.
Yeah, look, yeah, you gotta tip your hats to the greats, you know. And Maria Barber, she put in the hard yards. I think she's responsible for like, I know from my experience, I would go through the handbook and just draw every Pokemon. I was
Oh
never
yeah.
any good at it, but like I would just sort of trace it and gravitate to different details, and all those details with Paris, I just immediately latched onto. So that was a big thing.
I used to
As
I
yeah,
know
go
I
on.
used to I was just gonna say on the handbook, I know I used to, in the absence of like actually knowing him, this was my
Mm,
fucking Bible for like catching a Pokemon and then being like, oh, is it gonna turn into something good? And if so, when and what moves will it learn? Because
yeah,
like before the internet, you didn't have that. Like I couldn't just go to Bulbapedia or Smogon and find out all this information.
yeah.
This was it. This was all I had.
And by the time you're getting into the competitive scene, I imagine like you do have the internet and you can just look all that stuff
Oh
up. But
yeah,
like,
yeah. But in
yeah,
terms of just finishing the game, like knowing
yeah,
also what it was good against, because like I know like if I was like, oh, there's a there's a dragon gym, what do I do? Like what do I
yeah,
do? I don't know. I don't know how to figure it out. I don't have this trial
sure,
and
yeah.
error thing. So I had to just
Dragon isn't an element. Yeah, yeah,
exactly. It doesn't fit into my rock paper scissors chain. That
certainly not. No. Yeah, and also, how tall is this Pokemon? How what,
great information. And how much does he weigh? I don't know
actually,
how much a pound is, but
yeah,
12 pounds. I'm guessing that's not much.
no, no. And also it's good for a little rundown of all the little Pokedex facts, or the like, because they were pretty tame back in these days. There's no Drampa coming over to destroy your childhood bully or anything like that. It's just like burrowing and sucking on tree roots. And the mushrooms are a symbiotic life form. So like it feeds off the same nutrients that Paris ingests, and in return it releases the spore attack. Now that's all very cute and innocent, but like they've gone on to like give it a canonical name that is the same as a real world example of that mushroom organism. And if you go on to the next slide, you'll see it's a little bit sinister. So the official name is
Ah,
Tochukaso. Yeah. So the fungus of the Tochukaso germinates in a living larva. It kills it. It mummifies it. The dark brown stalk just sort of rises out of the
ugh.
caterpillar. Yeah, so like it's not exactly this symbiotic relationship that Maria Barbo wants us to believe. For all her like very many uh, strengths and achievements, she kind of,
She can't. Yeah, she started us down a dark path, and and
totally.
then she let go of the wheel and bailed out of the car.
Mm,
Is this
mm.
like is this in the same family of like Last of Us funguses? Because this kind of reads the same. Like,
Well, yeah, like if you look at the next slide, I have in fact made that same comparison. I
oh,
don't know
okay,
if you
sorry,
did.
sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't
no, no, you
pre-read.
didn't
I
even
didn't
look at the
pre-read because I
slide.
do like to be surprised, but I'm glad to know we're on the same page.
Great minds think alike. Okay, like
Yeah.
come on. So look, I mean, we're used as I've been watching the show, I've just learnt there's a dark underbelly to all these Pokemon. There's always
Oh
a
yeah.
dark truth that to their existence that we just have to, that we're not exposed to often enough. And I just have to assume that at some point in its life, Paris may well, in fact, be engineered by the mushrooms that supposedly give it strength in battle. So I have to assume it will turn into a clicker at one point.
Yeah, they
And
will
if you go
rise
to the
up.
next, yeah, will rise up. That's right. And if you go to the next slide, there's actually a bit in the anime where in episode 6 they go through Mount Moon, and Team Rocket have strung up lights everywhere. Um, and the scientist that's showing Ash, Misty, and Brock through is saying like, "Oh, these lights are horrible. They're making all the Pokemon nervous. They're making them do things that are unnatural." And he looks at a flock of Paris, or whatever the collective noun of Paris is, and they're all putting their mushrooms down on the ground. And it's like they're not meant to do that. They're meant to carry them on their backs and use them in battle. And it's like, I don't know. I think they have the right idea.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they were just breaking free of the shackles, and he should have just let them do their thing. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so too. This scientist, this is like Clefairy and the Moonstone. I don't know if you remember that episode where, like,
Vaguely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like a whole flock of Clefairy are like running around, and there's like a King Moonstone, and Team Rocket steal it, and all the
Yeah.
rest. Yeah.
So I have to. I was going to say you did say a flock of Clefairy, but we don't know the collective noun for a Paris. Now Jamesy in the chat has suggested a department of Parises. I would have
Hmm.
said Parai, but
Parai. Parai.
Parai.
Okay.
I don't know. What
Yeah.
are your
Well, yeah.
thoughts? What would it be?
What would it be? A department of Parises? A scuttle of Parises? I don't
That
know.
was my thought too, because they scuttle.
They totally do. They got those little legs at the back, and yeah, and in the anime episode, that's all about Paris. He does that a lot, of course.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that
Yeah.
works. There's
An
weirder ones.
arrondissement of Paris,
Oh,
perhaps.
wait, damn it!
And
I
an
don't even.
arrondissement is like it's like what they call suburbs in central Paris. But they don't have like names. They're just like first arrondissement, second, so forth until
Oh,
first. And then
okay. Hmm.
it would be
I
teaming
mean,
with the theme to have arrondissement, but I do like Scuttle. Scuttle's good.
Scuttle's good. There's not many Pokemon that do Scuttle, right? Like, I think of other bug Pokemon, and it's like they're either flying or crawling.
See, the term scuttle, like that word, if I was to do like kind of, it makes me think of crab. And we've talked about crab Pokemon
Mm,
on this show before. There's not enough of them.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's
No,
only a
true.
handful, and
Mm.
oh, sorry, I'm talking too quietly. My mic is cutting out. I've turned this mic up so many times. I feel like I'm speaking at a normal volume, but I'll have to project my voice.
All good.
So completely lost. Oh yeah, crab Pokemon. Not enough of them. Paris is sort of
No.
in there. He scuttles. He's part of the scuttling crew. So
Part of the he's part of the Scuttlers, yeah. And as far as like any Scuttlers past Gen 1, I'm not aware. Like I know of Kingsley. No, what's the name of the other? Yeah, Krabby, right? With K in Gen 1.
Krabby
Yeah,
with a K for sure.
Krabby with a K. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not enough. You're right. What are we moving on to now? I think, yeah, just a rundown of facts on Paris is on the next slide. So, as we've established, so it's burdened by and it's named after cruel parasites. That's where the name Paris comes from, of course.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like I appreciate James's allusion to the actual city. It's a bit more affectionate
Yeah.
and more deserving, really. It's the only Pokemon with 4 times weaknesses, so it's fire and flying by default. And then poison, it was weak to that extent in Gen 1 only, but it's the only Pokemon that's ever had 3 of those. So
Oh, he was made to get dunked on. That's not a good life to be leading.
100% Paris Hilton, says James in the chat. Oh dear. Okay. So, and here's the other thing: it's deprived of moisture in the Alolan heat. Now, I want to read a bit from the Pokedex entries for this Pokemon from Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Ultra Sun. I don't know why it's Sun specifically, but it is. So in Sun, it says no matter how much it eats, the mushrooms growing on its back steal away most of the nutrients it consumes.
Oh, that's not
So
symbiotic.
yes, exactly. It's sort of getting at the truth there, I think. And then Ultra Sun, whether it's due to a lack of moisture or a lack of nutrients, in Alola, the mushrooms in Paris don't grow up quite right.
Don't grow
They
up
don't
quite
grow up quite
right.
right. That's what it
Is there a
says.
bar for mushrooms that need to be passed?
I don't know. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is,
Oh
it
my
has a hard
god.
time on it, yet it's the last time it has been seen in a canonical Pokemon game. I mean, let's go.
You
Oh,
think
so
you'd think
Canada.
damp, soggy England would be ripe for mushrooms to be growing about the place?
There's crabs
Surely.
in England. There's
There's
crabs in
crabs.
England.
There's crabs. They've got
And
crabs.
mushrooms.
They've got crabs
Yeah.
and mushrooms. Two perfect recipes. The two ingredients to a perfect recipe.
Yeah, and as we've established, it's a victim and exit. I can see why it got the show. Like, I'm surprised it made it through every single generation. Like, it didn't opt out and then back in again. But hey, there we go. So yeah, and if you look at the next slide, I mean, as much as we love it, as much as we want the best for it, it really is just God's mistake.
I
And I just really, really like that part is completely unnecessary, except for the fact that like it's the Pokemon Stadium model and it looks uniquely adorable. I feel like
I
so.
I'm a big fan of how pointy certain like a certain era of video game
Mm,
graphics was, and this was something that I was reminded of when we were talking about the PS1 game RC Racer, because there was a certain fidelity to the graphics that were presented as part of that game and how pointy they were. And
mm,
this has the same energy of pointiness, and I really like it. It dates it, but not in a bad way. Like it's really old. Like
no,
it dates it to a specific era, a brief
mhm,
era when this is what they looked like, and
mhm,
it's very charming. I find it very very charming. I feel the same way about
absolutely.
RuneScape and how pointy it is. It's very
Yeah,
charming.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, RuneScape, classic. Yeah. And I also like the upturned smile on this particular model. Like it's. Oh, the rest of the time it's just the sheer abundance of teeth that is just
Mm,
like, hello, what? But like in this one, there's a curl going on, and
yeah,
and of course the claw is like raised up, like hug me, daddy. It's just, he wants nothing but love.
that's all he wants.
Yeah,
That's all he wants.
all he wants. Now, before we move on to the next bit of the presentation, if you look at the next slide, I've done a little bit of a "Who's that Pokemon?" It's a bit of a throwback.
Oh, yep. We do have
Um,
a slide of
oh,
Parasect if you want us to talk about
be-
him too.
beg your pardon. Yeah, okay. No, we would be remiss to not mention Parasect. It's evolution at 24. Um, Look, it's good. It's fine. It's a logical evolution for this Pokemon. The claws are stronger, the legs are longer, the mushroom's bigger. Obviously, it's got a different design. That's kind of like mushroom clouds and sorry, it's like clouds and Mario. I feel like I remember them having
Mm,
that sort of cylindrical or elliptical shape, whatever it
yep.
is.
Yep.
And the eyes as well. I get why you lost the googly eyes because it's growing older, and the freckles is with it. But yeah, it just doesn't have enough as much character,
Yeah.
and so it's yeah.
So
I mean,
someone's
what?
someone's got to say it because Brendan's not here, so I'll say it for him. That the
Mm,
eyes are the window to the soul, and
mhm.
the fact that there are no pupils, I do not not good to me. Not
Mm.
good. These weird white bulbous things with no pupils, not here for
Fair
it.
enough. Fair
They
enough.
could like
See, I
closed
kind of like.
eyes, okay, fine. I can deal with the closed eyes, but these weird like ping pong balls looking
Mm.
things. I don't
See,
know.
I always thought it gave it kind of like a Zen quality, like it's achieved a higher, like it's
Oh,
sort of
like the
ascended to the gods kind of thing,
kind of like eyes
and
rolled back
it's
in its head. It's just it's on a
a
higher
little bit,
plane.
yeah, like but yeah, not as yeah, that soul is gone, like
Yeah.
it is standing.
Yeah, James
So
is though
yeah,
saying that perhaps the Paris is dead and the mushroom is inhabiting its body. So I mean that could be a
well,
good reason as to why there's no pupils. That could be a logical reason.
yeah, that is. Oh, does he mean Paris or Parasect? Because if it's in the case of Paris, then that mushroom's doing an insanely good job at being like affectionate
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, no, that's true.
winsome.
That's true.
Whereas Parasect, it's kind of given up the ghost, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Um. Yeah. Well. Uh. Yeah. So also, I meant to ask, like, you had a 5-star rating that you established a few weeks back. Where would Paris and Parasect sit on that 5-star?
So they can't be 5-star because of how we cordoned it off and put it in its own little special thing.
Hmm.
I don't know that it was particularly like iconic or like because as you say, it doesn't have a shining feature spot
Hmm.
as part like it wasn't a centerpiece or anything, and it wasn't as I guess widely known as like a Rattata or a Pidgey. I
No.
feel like it would have they would have to be threes because
Mm.
I just feel like putting them in a fours is a little bit too high. But then I know that if Brendon were here, he would say no, they're fours already because they're Gen 1. So I would say three, and Brendon would probably say four. That would be my gut feel. So, and I know
Sure.
unfortunately we don't do things by halves, so it has to be one or the other. But Brendan's not here, so I'm going to say three,
Okay.
only because just they're not as like they don't have the same profile as other Gen 1 Pokemon. Which isn't to say they're not cool and good, just that we can't
Hmm.
have 151 spotlight.
That's true. No, I get that, and in a way, like that underdog status just makes me even more endeared to Paris. It's never
It's
gonna.
more
It's just
reasons to
gonna pop
love
up in the
them.
background of the movies. It's just gonna fill up the screen. It's just gonna fill the quota. Just doing its thing. But yeah, no.
Yeah.
I will always see it, and I'll be like, I got you, buddy. So, before we move on to the analysis of the anime episode, which is another thing I wanted to do when I by coming onto the show. On the next slide, I've got a bit of a who's that Pokemon,
Oh yeah.
and I want to throw it open to chat as well. There are 4 other mushroom Pokemon. We've established that there's plenty of other crab Pokemon, but there are 4 other mushroom Pokemon, and they've been established on this show. Bianca, you probably know offhand what they are. All 4. Can you think in your head what they are?
I can. I won't say it because
Yeah.
I will be giving it away.
James, if you're still paying attention, if you could post in chat, do you remember what the other 4 were discussed on
Time.
the show? So this is something of a pop quiz. This is what X and Y is all about. I'm gonna like take our viewership to task,
Yeah. Yeah.
and unfortunately, it's a no show. So if you could go to the next slide.
No
Too
too
much
much
pressure.
pressure.
Okay, he was in the exam. But alas, he couldn't scribble anything into the Union New South Wales testing forms, the little bubbles that we would do. The ABC did. Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about, or
I
do
know
I?
exactly what you're talking about. I used to
Yeah, the
honestly
little science
I used
quizzes
to
that I seemed to.
love doing those. I don't know what it was about them. I
I
used to
get that.
love just filling them out. It's just like
Filling
filling
them
them
out.
out.
That's
Um,
it. That's like half the charm.
yeah, but
Yeah.
also like I don't want to sound like a tosser actually if I keep saying this, but like I remember I used to do quite well on them, so it was like exciting to do because I was like, oh, I hope I get a good score. Like I was genuinely excited
And,
to
then,
do
and it's
it.
why we know what. Yeah, we knew what distinctions were by the time we actually went to uni.
Yes,
That's the
that's
other thing.
I knew what it meant to have worked hard for a distinction. Damn it.
Yes. But yes, as that slide establishes, they are, and I've got them written down because I don't remember the names of anything past Gen 1 very well. Shroomish, Breloom, Fungus, and Amoongus. And I'd completely forgotten that it was Fungus and Amoongus, which is extremely funny to me.
See, it's fun. I've always said it in my head, Fungoose and Amoongoose, because
Amoongus.
Amoongoose,
That's right.
even though it's like fungus, but it's just
Hmm.
fungus. It's more fun to say, Fungoose and Amoongoose.
Fungus and Amoongus. Mm. Sorry, I just like that. All right. So second half,
Hmm.
we're going to talk about the anime. And look, and I'll defer to your knowledge a lot more, a lot on this because I just have not really revisited the anime in any substantial way. Because I'll be asking like, did this happen anywhere else? Because like in the last week is the first time I watched this particular episode of the show, which is the problem with Paris, episode 44 of the original series, the Indigo League. Um, and there are a lot of things that just really genuinely, unironically, really charm me about how they did this episode. Not just because Paris is in there, but because of the way, the particular complication they set up for Paris, for Ash and his friends, and for Team Rocket as well. In a
Hmm.
big way, Team Rocket really feature heavily. But
We're
so
off to
yeah,
a great start already. I love the episodes.
mm.
They're so good.
If you go on to the next slide, I'll give a quick rundown of the plot.
Hmm.
So basically, the Ash and his friends stop off in Moss Green Village, not Green Moss Village, Moss Green Village. And as the narrator is keen to remind us, it's a quaint, cute place, but it's so small it doesn't even have its own Pokemon gym.
Oh, sad.
Yeah, uh, I don't know. But hey, look, it makes sense because we never encounter it in the games. I don't think, unless there's like a sign saying
Yeah, no,
this
it
random
wouldn't
pair
be.
of
There's
houses
only
is
ever
a
there's
village.
only ever the big cities, the big eight.
The Big Eight, sure. Oh well, yeah, and Lavender Town as well, right? Like,
Oh yeah, and
or is
Lavender Town.
that? Or
Wait, no,
like,
do
is
they
it
have
in?
one? Do they have a gym?
They don't have a gym, but like they're a name location as well, right?
Hmm, yeah. I guess it'd have to be the big nine. I was just saying big eight because there's eight. I know there's eight badges, eight gyms, eight.
I know even less about it than you, so I'm not gonna try to take you to task over it. Look, so yeah, they stop off in Moss Green Village to get some more antidotes. There's a shot where Brock's like, "We've run out of potions," and he's like flopping the empty bag for some reason. It's like, okay, we get it, Brock.
Yeah,
So they
thanks.
stop in to get some potions. They run into a woman named Cassandra who's got a Paris. She wants it to evolve really quickly because she wants to use the Parasect to make a new potion, especially for Pokemon, and she'll use the new potion to help Pokemon all over the world. That's the exact verbatim quote that she used.
Okay, that's
She also
some
says,
punctuation might be required there, but that's okay.
"Yeah, I know. Look, hey, look, you can't.
I
Yeah,
can't. I can't nitpick too greatly. I can't nitpick.
I know the Dubs have a hard time as it is. Basically, so like the episode revolves around their effort to basically lose fights to Paris and help it evolve into Parasect. That's the whole. That's the whole episode, which is
They're
like
metagaming.
has that so I gotta ask you, like, has there been any other instance in the show you can think of where Ash had to intentionally throw a fight for whatever reason?
I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I
Mhm.
can't. I don't want to definitively say no because I feel like it's a situation where he would have done it. Like even if it wasn't the intent of leveling someone else up, maybe he just like didn't want to hurt the other Pokemon, whatever, and he couldn't fight. I feel like it would have to have happened at least one other time, but I
Yeah.
will do my research and come back next week.
I would say, like, I'm sure he's had to throw a fight before for some reason, but I think what's nice about this is, like, he has to throw the fight, but it's like it's not on, like, a stadium fight. No one's fixing the
There's no,
match. No
yeah,
one's
there's no like lack of competitive integrity here.
no, no. He's like everyone is on board. Like, no, this is the right thing to do. We got to lose. We got to help it evolve. We got to help it be its best self. And so it's even though it plays up the unusualness of that situation of him having to lose a fight.
Mm,
But it does it in a nice little safe space that is this quaint little village, and it's so it's a really nice sort of plot for a 20-minute episode. I just think that's a really good start already. If you look at the next slide, I've basically like what I just said was meant to accompany this next slide, but like I just think they go through a lot of iterations throughout the episode of just how Pokemon look when they're throwing fights on purpose on Ash's behalf.
yeah.
So Pikachu has to do a little static shock, and of course it hits Paris on the head, and he immediately goes rolling because he's so weak, he's so
Oh,
unconfident.
the poor little baby.
I know, and then he brings out Squirtle, and it's just like, okay, use your water gun, but like do it just a little bit, and he does a little gurgle that's like a tiny straw thin stream that again lands on Paris's head, and he goes right, um, and its eyes are all curly and stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, there's this classic shot, which brings to mind Detective Pikachu, the picture of him slumped on the ground that's spread like a meme over the internet. Okay,
Sadly.
exactly. I think that's it. I almost like that even better, just like the little white flag being thrown in, the original voice actor doing noises like "Oh, Mika," So
Yeah, yeah.
um, really good animation of that kind on display. Just like hesitation and reluctance on part of Pokemon. So it's really good that way. And on the next slide, I'm just trying to remember what it is. Yeah, Paris is cute.
Paris is cute.
Paris is just really cute. We've established that pretty thoroughly already, but to see it in motion is just a whole other thing. So obviously it's very sad looking. It's got a confidence issue. You can tell that straight off the bat. Later on, it gets a bit hopped up and ready to fight, and you can see it's
Fight
sort of
me,
raising its
bitch.
fist to pick. Yeah, exactly. And using the little bit on the end of the
I
claws to
know,
kind
a
of
little
express
what's the
itself.
matter? Like
What's the matter, you Pikachu? Hey, kiss Givo. Hey, yeah. But then, of course, when it gets its ass handed to it, it's sort of very shocked, very exhausted, and it goes running and crying again. Like the animals were just like, "Oh God, for these eyes, like we can do so much with these. We can make them all angry and stuff." So,
I have to say, I really like how the eyes are kind of blue though. Like they're not
that's a
just
good point.
they're not literally just googly eyes. They're not just sort of white, whatever that bit of your eye is called with the pupils. They've got they've got like an iris almost.
Mm.
It's
No,
nice.
that's a good point. I didn't even realize that, but no, you're right.
Give them
Lends
a
it
little
even
bit
that
more
much more character.
personality. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also a good point because like there's an obvious Sandra's really keen to level up this because she wants to quickly make this potion. It's never established why she wants to make it quickly, but she mentions it twice. I don't know why. And it
One.
and the character just and the plot does not ever acknowledge the idea. Like, why don't you just go back to Mount Moon like they did a few episodes ago and just find one of the Paris, like several of the Parises that live there, and just find one that doesn't have this confidence issue, and then level that one up. Rather than just constantly forcing this timid Paris to like try and win a fight that it doesn't want to fight.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a bit of like a recurring thing in the show where like
Mm,
it's they obviously don't just do the thing that you do in the game where if you got a shitty Pokemon, you just go and get another one. And then as you
yeah.
level through the games, like the minute that your Pokemon, well, not the minute, but if you have a Pokemon that's not useful anymore, he goes into the box and it is
Mm,
replaced by a new one from the wild. Like obviously like that never really obviously happens in the anime because everyone has their core Pokemon and it's just like no, these are my Pokemon now. Like I just have to deal with it because it's like these are my Pokemon partners, not my battling machines. But Pokemon partner, she's just using the Paris to make a potion. Like
that's it.
she
That's
shouldn't
it.
have that reservation, but obviously they've
Mm,
wanted to keep that because like that's how the show is about like having
mm.
this nice friendly relationship with Pokemon.
This sort of codependent gig
Yeah,
economy
you're like we're all in this
kind of thing.
together, High School Musical style.
For sure, for sure. And I like the other thing too, like I get more anyway to mass produce this incredible potion that she wants to make. Which, by the way, like she mentions the like what the potion is, and like Brock is asking out the question we have, which is like, what's so great about this potion anyway? As they
Mm.
keep failing to have Paris win. And she's like, I'm trying to come up with a miracle potion. One that'll not only restore Pokemon's defensive powers, but its attack power, concentration, and its determination as well. And make it smarter too. All right.
Hmm. Is this some
Only
sort
the
of like
whole world.
limitless drug? Like, where's Brad
You live.
Cooper?
This Paris is only using half its brain, or 10%, whatever it is. Yeah.
That's like everything about a Pokemon.
Mm, I know. It's like what's the equivalent in the games? There's like, it's called something like an iron or something. One of those
Well, yeah, they have them
weird
all. They have like carbos, they have calcium, they have iron, they have like all
mm,
those like vitamins they call them, even though
vitamins. There you
calcium
go.
isn't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
a vitamin, but they have all these vitamins that you can give them to boost their stats. But that's like
Mm,
it's like all of them at once, and also
I know.
like things that make it happy, like and boost its
Yeah.
happiness.
And such a thing, you would think it would just shake. It would just change the whole dynamic of the world. Of course, we leave these people, so we never hear about it again.
it's
We're not using Cassandra's miracle potion and finding Gary at the end of the season.
it's
Like
it
it's just not happening.
yeah. All it makes me think is like, is this the equivalent of like having like genetically modified food? Like how people get really antsy about like you can't fucking do that shit to my food. Like I want my food organic or whatever.
That
This
is
is like the divide between like my Pokemon are organic, homegrown. I got them from the farm. Like I caught it myself. And this guy's like, yeah, well, I got my Pikachu from the shop, and I gave him Cassandra's Wonder Potion, and he's better than yours. Like,
There's no fluoride in this potion.
there's no fluoride here.
No, it's none of it. There's actually that's funny that you bring up like sort of drugs and natural remedies because there's a point I want to make later that's funny about the episode. But before that, on the next slide, I want to talk up as you know as we should do at every opportunity. I want to talk up Team Rocket in this
Oh,
episode. So
oh
right off the
yes.
bat, you've got some amazing poses going on there. Like I love that reclining pose that they're going and
It's
just
so good.
I know. Like Meowth is in that scene. Like basically, Team Rocket what happens at the beginning of the episode is that like they're following the little brats as
Of
they always do.
course.
Meowth has a fever out of nowhere. That never explained why.
Hmm.
Cassandra comes along, and this is how we first meet her. She comes along and she's like, "What are you doing? How could you treat this Meowth this way?" And she gives Meowth a herbal remedy and cures its fever. And Meowth, of course, falls in love with her instantly, wants to like be with her forever.
Who
And
wouldn't?
they yeah, I know. And then from behind a tree, they witness the whole conversation of like, I want to level up this Paris and make a miracle potion. And Meowth is like, I'm gonna help her make that miracle potion because we're gonna be together forever. And there's a dream sequence in which he's like reclining on her lap. And I don't have the still here, unfortunately, but like he's reclining on her lap and just like blissfully living out his days under what appears to be like a jacaranda tree.
Oh,
So so
bless.
basically, he has to pitch Team Rocket, and it's like, no, we got to help make this Paris evolve as well because when she makes that miracle potion, she's gonna make me her mascot, and then I'm gonna make you my business managers, and then we're gonna be billionaires and zillionaires or whatever James keeps saying. I
Yeah.
think I suspect that's a running joke, just them saying stupid amounts of money all the time.
Yeah.
But eventually, yeah, they become like in an ironic turn of events, they become almost a more effective team in achieving the aim of the episode than the main characters. They do a better job of hopping Paris up and having it fights. They even basically they say to themselves, James is like, Arbok and Weezing are bigger losers than the guy who invented homework. How do we get stuck with these rejects? And so they throw them into battles, and Meowth kills them instantly. And then they're like doing what you could see in this there of Jesse and James just being like, "Well done! Oh, look at you go, Tiger! Well, hell yeah!" And it works. Paris gets all hopped up and like ready to rumble again. So
I
so yeah, like
it kind of reminds me, right, of like the way that they're like that, of
mm,
what you can do in Sword and Shield in max raid battles online, where if your Pokemon gets knocked out, you can
mm.
use your turn to just cheer for your team and like help them out,
Oh wow, okay.
which is a cool little. I don't know what the rules about it are, but it always seems like that if I'm knocked out,
Mm.
the AI players don't seem to do it, only human players. But if I'm knocked out in a raid battle and my Pokemon isn't there, my option is like cheer for your team. And so I just do like a team yell, like, yeah. And then everyone gets like
Mm.
an attack boost or something. I don't know. And maybe
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
get some health back. I don't really remember. But it definitely reminds me of that, the way they're like just cheering them on. Like, it's a good
Yeah.
thing. There should be more of it.
That, yeah, yeah. They're kind of Team Yell before Team Yell. Like they're
The
just
the original team yell.
we simply must stand Paris,
There's
as I do. So
That's it.
we're relatable.
So we got to do.
And
Marnie and Paris have more in common than we may think.
100%. On the next slide, now I mentioned earlier it was funny that you're like herbal remedies and natural stuff. I want to bring up so you've got this grandma. Oh man, sorry. I just remembered that this slide comes first, and I've got it, and I've skipped it over in this plan. So
Oh, right.
I've hyped up this drug dealing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, you
You're gonna.
know what? If you could go forward
Yeah,
one more
yeah,
slide,
yeah,
and we'll
yeah.
get
We'll
to
skip
that
it.
first,
We'll skip
and
it.
then
We'll
we'll
skip
go.
it. We'll come back to
Yeah,
it.
okay. Sorry.
No, that's all
Yeah.
good.
This is like an actual uni presentation. Anyway. So this grandma character, I haven't mentioned her yet. She's the first person Ash, Misty, and Brock meet. They go into a building. They say, "Hey, could you sell us some antidotes, please?" And the grandma turns around in that left picture, and she goes, and let me find the quote. I want to get this right, and we'll do her justice. She goes, "Got some snake root that will cure insomnia and grow hairs on your nose and tongue."
Oh no,
So
thank
that's
you.
And then Cassandra comes in and is like, "Grandma, you promised to be nice." And she's just like,
Oh, this. Oh, so this is where she gets the potions ideas from, huh?
presumably. I mean, you look at Grandma dressed like she's kind of skulking in the shadows. Uh,
She doesn't give off a particularly trustworthy vibe. Like,
no,
quite literally, like, hey kids, do you want to buy some drugs? Like,
yeah, she just has it handy, and like she at the beginning, she's like grinding something with a rolling wheel or like a rolling pin or something, and she think, okay, maybe she's like baking cookies or whatever. I don't know, and then she just holds up the snake root. It's like, what?
yep, just
Uh,
showing you the tongue hair one. You know that one
and
that we all
And
love.
Brock's like, do you possibly have a non-hairy?
Great, great
And
question,
then
Brock.
Cassandra shows up and he asks her to do all the rest. Later, so if we scroll back to that slide we originally
Uh huh. Yep.
stumbled onto, so Charmeleon is the antagonist because in the course of bringing out Pokemon to fight Paris with, Charmeleon is, I assume, at this stage freshly evolved because Ash keeps talking wistfully about Charmander and how obedient he was, whereas Charmeleon is not taking any
Got a
shit.
mind of his own.
It's
Got
like,
a mind of his
no,
own.
got a mind of his own. He's aloof. He doesn't want to do anything. And well, he does just want to attack things. That's what he actually wants to do, and he doesn't want to follow any orders from Ash. Hence why he just roasts him in the face that one time and tail whips Paris like into oblivion. Um, and the grandma comes out, and if you go forward again, sorry,
No,
like
that's all
it's
good.
because it's the exact picture that happens where grandma comes out and she says, Charmeleon's trainer needs experience. If the trainer is poor, the Pokemon won't respect him and won't obey orders. And Ash is just like, oh no. So like,
She
Grandma
just
not
comes
only
out
is this
here,
creepy
mic
drug
drops.
dealer, but is just like this truth telling, blunt as hell, like, SmackDown dealer. Like it's so funny and like and yeah. So and as I said, like Charmeleon effectively becomes the antagonist. It fills the void that Team Rocket would have left behind in becoming Paris's number one pep squad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just about marshalling this unruly Charmeleon.
Which,
But
to be fair, given
sorry,
that whole arc of of when he gets the Charmander, when he eventually gets the Charizard, it's so on brand for Ash's Charizard to just be a real dick and just fuck it up for him because he wants to
right,
fight.
because Charizard just carries on being tempestuous, right?
Yeah,
Like, is it?
he does what he wants. Like,
Mm,
it ends up obviously gets to a point where there is a level of mutual respect, but it's very much like a, no, I'm not here to do like menial fucking tasks for you. Like, I'm a Charizard, I can kick ass. Let me go to town on somebody.
sure, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so I guess it's on brand, but in this, but it's real antagonizing force, and I get the sense Ash just hasn't dealt with it before. There's actually
Mm.
one shot where Charmeleon is just sitting on the ground and like scratching its ear with its own leg, or if you could call it its ear, but it's like, yeah, it's acting very like an unruly puppy, and it's pretty good that way. But um, if I can trying to think of how it ends. Like basically, Paris runs away in fear at their
Mm-hmm.
first efforts to level it up. Team Rocket run into it. They come up with this plan. They hop up the Paris by having it fight coughing, wheezing, and sorry, it's wheezing and Arbok at this stage. Yeah,
Yep.
it's wheezing, Arbok, and Meowth,
Yep.
and they intentionally lose. And then Paris comes back and he's all hopped up, and so they give it another go. But Charmeleon comes out this time and it's just stomping around the place, causing havoc.
Causing some
And then if you
disruption.
causing disruption, and then on the next slide, as you'll see, he's closing in for the kill, which Paris, but then Paris pulls out the right stop and just gets him right in the chest, and
Damn.
it's quite a triumphant moment, and presumably a very Chameleon will
Oh
get that
yeah.
push on
Oh
his
yeah.
face. It's like pride and a rib cage just wounded,
I love
and
though that the Paris is just kind of
yeah,
like just eyes closed, hope for the best.
yeah.
Try but
Giving it all I
the little
got.
engine that
Yeah,
could,
yeah,
like
yeah. It's his own tiny Kamehameha. It's the last ditch. Charmeleon is Perfect Cell, just about to ruin everything. Oh, do you know what Perfect Cell is offhand? Or
I don't.
okay. Oh, that's a DBC villain. Sorry,
Yeah,
because it's been
sorry,
established
sorry.
in my. I don't know much about DBC either. I just watched the Cell episodes back on at the same era when I was watching Pokemon. That's the only reason I know what that is. But yeah, so that happens. Paris is like, Paris? Like what? What happened? And then evolves, turns into Parasect, turns into the weird ping pong freak, eyeball
Yep.
freak. Cassandra celebrates. They say goodbye to the group.
Hmm.
And of course, we never hear about that miracle potion again. As I mentioned, it's
Yep, it
just
just
out of the
clearly
canon
didn't
for
go
me. Like,
anywhere because otherwise everyone would be all over that shit.
yeah, nope. And then Team Rocket, they blasted off again by trying to think where. Yeah, Charmeleon blasts them off, and then Parasect hits it with a spore and knocks it out. So it's like, yeah,
Nice.
I run this now. It's all good.
Yeah.
Eventually, so Ash and company leave. Team Rocket smacked down back to Earth, and Cassandra comes over and like starts bandaging up Meowth's head inside the tent. And it's just like, oh, thank you. And like at that point, at some point, become obvious that Team Rocket helped Paris evolve, and so she's really thankful to them.
Yep. Yep.
And Meowth is like, oh, that's great. And when you make me your mascot, I'm sure you'll repay me enormously. She's like, what? I would never break you up. You guys are a superhero squad. You can't go without your Meowth. It's like, oh no, I'm a hero. Zero. And then to explain the shot in the bottom right, the
Yeah, I was
grandma
gonna
goes,
ask.
"We don't. We've already got a company mascot anyway. I found this Persian snoozing in the backyard." Just holds it up.
Oh,
Has has Meowth ever been upstaged by a Persian in the show? I feel like
I don't know.
surely.
I don't know. There's not a lot of. The only Persian that I think he could conceivably be upstaged by is
Hmm,
Giovanni's Persian.
hmm.
But I don't think they ever really interact with each other.
Okay, so that's the other major appearance of a Persian in the final Indigo League badge fight.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay. Yeah,
That's
it
so
just
that's
felt
so
like such a
brutal.
weird.
That's so brutal
Yeah.
though.
The shame is very real on Meowth's face.
that
Um,
Nana gives absolutely no fucks. She's just out here
Absolutely not.
just selling her hair medication,
A snake root
calling it
that
she's
cures
just calling
insomnia.
it how she sees it, and she's not afraid of hurting Meowth's poor ego. She's bruised it beyond repair.
Even when, and as far as she knows, Meowth is a hero, like a genuine hero. He
Yeah,
evolved as Paris,
yeah, yeah.
presumably like securing their income for until she carks it. Like so, like
So it's like it's not like they have actually done anything to slight her. So the only reason that she would need to tell them that we have actually one already and it's this Persian, by the way, that we found on the ground, it could only be to slight him. That would be the only reason to
no,
do it. There's because you could just do the
she's
diplomatic. Oh, you already got one. Yeah, don't worry. See you later. Bye. You've got to be a superhero, I guess. Bye. But no, no, no. Let's just
100%.
sink those boots in.
It's just yeah, like a very inexplicably great episode. I feel like I would be if there is an episode as similarly interesting and clever. I would like to watch it. I really would. It's quite possible that it's out there. As I said, I have not watched. I haven't revisited. I think it's on Netflix. Like you can just watch
Yeah,
it on
yeah,
Netflix.
you can watch it
Yeah.
on Netflix. I'm actually like, it's funny you say because I saw I thought about showing this, but I might just tweet it out after the show and just let
Mm.
people look at it. People that follow me on Twitter, as a plug, follow me on Twitter, and you get to see this hot, fresh content of a clip from the new season, the newest season, which is this. I think it is set in the Gala region, and it's of Ash brushing his teeth next to like his hop equivalent, and the way that he's doing it is it's so stupid. He's holding the toothbrush still and like going like this,
Oh,
um,
okay.
like really, 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 really fast. And
Right.
unfortunately, it's come without sound, probably to avoid copyright or whatever. But then like the guy that's with him is like clearly like, what the fuck are you doing? And then
Right.
Pikachu gets up and also starts brushing his teeth, but not by brushing the toothbrush, but by moving their head back and forth. And this goes on for about a
Right.
minute before they like make themselves pass out on the floor with the spiral eyes because they've like gone too hard. And I feel like that level of silliness is exactly what you want from a Pokemon show. And I hope that the rest of the episodes like in the new season have
Mm.
that level of sort of just whimsical stuff, like making Ash and Pikachu brush their teeth like this instead of like a
Mm.
normal human being.
Like there
Just for
is like
fun.
a yeah, I mean there is an element in this episode of just like that kind of Warner Brothersy cartoony kind of vibe of like I mean Warner Brothers might be completely the wrong comparison for an anime. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's not my wheelhouse. Um, but like it's the way it's sort of like Paris is scared by something and he goes, whips off screen and all these other cartoon effects. So I mean, it's kind of baked in there from the start. But I wonder, like in the new season that you're talking about, like who were they pitching to exactly? Because it's not like it's not the same era. It's not the same audience
Yeah.
necessarily. Like how do they pitch to Zoomers? Do they pitch to Zoomers? Like what?
I
Yeah.
think like with we're getting a bit off topic here, but I feel like with how successful shows like Adventure Time and Steven Universe and is it Gravity Falls? I haven't watched all of it. But with how successful those have been with people that aren't like kids watching the show, which is obviously the primary market is it's on Cartoon Network, that's kids cartoon channel or whatever channel. But
Yeah.
they're like actually they're accessible to all ages, or at the very least people our age ish, um,
Mm.
and older. But I feel like it's kind of unavoidable because like people fucking love watching cartoons. Like people love watching anime. Anime is like a big thing. People love watching
Yeah.
cartoons. Like
That's the thing. Like I'm tempted to make that. Well, just today I was watching the new Steven Universe episodes. They've got a bunch more coming out, and then they'll wrap it up by the end of the year, like the whole show.
yeah,
But yeah, like as I said, like, and I don't know how anime works. If it's it, I suspect it's just a world of difference from Western animation, but I don't know if that's true either. Like it's I do wonder how, and like I constantly say to the effect of, well, this anime really subverts expectations. It really turns certain tropes on their heads, and it's like you work for it, I guess.
yeah. Like
Like,
if you say
and it's
so.
yeah, but at the same time, I mean, you know, Pokemon's appeal in the West has been established since it started. Like they put such effort into localizing the game from Red and Blue onwards
Mm,
for the West, even as it cost like I think like every Pokedex entry in the American Red and Blue is twice as long because
mm,
it's got to fit in those English characters. Things like they went to that effort to cater to a Western audience. So I do wonder, like, where does it place it now? Like,
yeah.
now, especially with Sword and Shield around the corner. Has the Sword and Shield season come out?
I think it has. I'll have to double check, but I think it has.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think because I've watched some of the Sun and Moon episodes,
Right.
and they're clearly not just the very average like children's TV show. Like there's they're putting effort and money into this, especially in the way that it looks. Like it looks like it has cost money to make, and I don't mean that in like a bit of a throwaway term, but it doesn't look like it's just some sort of slapdash together, chuck the Pokemon logo on it, kids will watch it, who
Mm.
cares? Like it does
Oh,
feel
good.
like there's a little bit more thought into it, but it's certainly not like Steven Universe or Adventure Time or something where there's very clearly like there's the primary market and then there's an enormous secondary market of people who
Yeah.
are much older.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm glad it's sort of upkept quality in a way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it hasn't gone the Land Before Time route where last or have the exact same intro. I wonder why I know that. I'm trying to remember. I don't. I think it was recent. I think it was reviewing The Good Dinosaur,
Oh.
that Pixar movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on a website I used to. I think I just gave that a look because I was curious. I watched the first movie and then just watched trailers for the other ones to see where it went, and it's like, yeah, they did not care.
Yeah.
Towards
Like
by the
just a
time Land
blatant
Before
cash
Time
grab.
14, yeah, yeah, no, they didn't. So yeah, Paris is great.
Mm.
His episode is great.
Yep.
And I'm glad we could go segue seamlessly from a flat out celebration of it to Western and animation in general, which is a
You always
unrelated topic that I
we
love
always find
to.
a way to do segues on this show. Always.
Yeah. And yeah, I think I made it through to the end of the entire presentation with Kingdom Hearts rules.
Well, we have to fix that.
Were Brendon on the show, I think he would be like, do it. We were joking about don't mention Kingdom Hearts challenge, and that'd be quite funny, especially because the DLC trailer.
It
Yeah,
has. It has. I
and it
know.
looks good.
Yeah. Well, see the thing. Like,
Finally.
see the thing. Okay, we are going off topic. We are just talking about Kingdom Hearts now. But
Yeah,
I watched the
it's the
trailer.
last minute.
Yeah, I watched the trailer, and I remember Mitch was so keen for it. It's like, oh, I get to play as Riku because he fucking loves Riku. He's like, and I get to play as Kairi, and I was like, but honestly, at this point, I've forgotten why I cared about Kyrie. Like, and it's probably a bit harsh because I never cared for Kyrie, you know. But I
Honestly,
genuinely didn't. Like, I don't know why I care about her anymore. And playing as her is not exciting to me.
everyone's embracing it as like a corrective to like how utterly disposed of she was in 3
Yeah,
in the main campaign.
yeah.
But it's like, yeah, like clearly the developer only really ever had a clear purpose for it in the first game. And every game that's after that, it's
She's
like
just kind of there existing, like not just passively existing in this world.
that's it. That's it. But hopefully it'll. I mean, they're going to continue that series interminably, and they've got that trail, that secret ending, that little cutscene
Yeah,
indicated as much. I
yeah.
wish they weren't continuing the story with Sora, but
I
I
was
get
so
what they're
ready for
doing.
the book to be closed. I was quite pleased to have the book closed on that. I was like, oh, that's a nice way to finish it. But then it was like,
Mm.
just kidding. Digbar's here and he's got a box. And yes, JD Hot Take, not care
Spoiler
about
alert.
Kyrie. Don't care. Oh yeah, spoiler alert for Kingdom Hearts. I'm sure that anybody who cares about Kingdom Hearts 3 knows by now. Um,
True, true. Yeah.
yeah, Hot Take, not caring about Kyrie. This is my hill to die on.
Mm.
I'll stand by it.
In summary, Curry sucks. The
Paris
DLC will
rocks.
probably be. Yeah, I'll play the DLC. It'll probably be fun. Steven Universe rules. Watch it. And Paris rules as well. He is scuttles into my heart and has taken residence and will never leave.
Beautiful. I love it. Alrighty, I will end the stream now. Thank you everybody for joining us as always. John for joining me, and we'll see you guys next week. Not sure what we'll be doing, but I'm sure that it will be something fun and exciting. Alrighty, bye
Happy birthday,
guys,
Brendon.
and happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Brendon.
Brendon.